Welcome to our broadcast. This is the first time we're doing an interview on wilsonliling.com. And today I'm really excited because I'm going to do an interview with Pastor Simon. Pastor Simon was the president of Hope International Ministries for the past decade, and he recently passed it over to me. So I'm really excited because in so many ways, Pastor Simon has been my inspiration, my mentor. He's been an example to me in so many different areas. And one of the key strengths of Pastor Simon is his tremendous pastoral heart. And this is something that he's so well known for within our family of churches. And one of the things we really want to find out from Pastor Simon today is how does he help care for leaders across the huge distances? You see, as a family of churches, we have churches in many different countries, even across continents. And so Pastor Simon has been really caring for and leading and helping so many different leaders in many different parts of the world. So we'd like to glean some insights from Pastor Simon because after all these many years, he surely has many gold nuggets of wisdom that he can share with us. So Pastor Simon, welcome again. It's so wonderful to have you all the way back in Kuala Lumpur. Can you say hi to all of us?
Hi. Wow, this is really great with technology, Wilson's back in Brisbane, I'm here in Kuala Lumpur, and we're doing just virtual, but it seems so real that we're able to communicate. And more than that, it's touching so many of our pastors and leaders all over the world. Thanks, Wilson.
Yes. So, I'd like to start asking you some questions. As I mentioned, we have had to in particular care for many different leaders across huge distances. From your experience, what are some of the foundational things that you find really helps to set up this relationships?
Amen. Thanks for the privilege, Wilson. I'm so happy to share with our leaders and pastors all over the world. As I was reflecting on preparing for this sharing, I just reflect back. I've been doing this like more than 20 years, and our movement is a global movement with a family of leaders all over the world. And I'm so honored and privileged that I've been able to connect with pastors now from Africa, pastors from India, pastors with in South America, our brother Oscar, and then Ho Chi Minh City with our family there, etc. I'm truly privileged. I'm glad I'm able to do this. So I've also gone into the scripture as I look at Romans chapter 1, for example, and taking my inspiration from Paul, reading from verse 8 onwards to 13. Paul said, "First, I thank my God through Jesus Christ for all of you, because your faith is being reported all over the world. God, whom I serve with my whole heart, in preaching the gospel of His Son, is my witness how constantly I remember you in my prayers at all times, and I pray that now at last, by God's will, the way may be open for me to come to you. I long to see you so that I may impart to you some spiritual gift to make you strong, that is, that you and I may be mutually encouraged by each other's faith. I do not want you to be unaware, brothers, that I planned many times to come to you, but have been prevented from doing so until now, in order that I might have a harvest among you, just as I have had among the other Gentiles." So thanks again for the privilege of doing this, Wilson.
Wonderful. It's really wonderful. So share with us. So what are some of the keys that you have learned to those foundational things that help you relate with people?
Right. Okay. Let me start with the first area. The first area is in building friendship. Friendship that eventually leads to something deeper. The passage that I read just now from Romans chapter 1, I could see Paul's heart, Paul's longing to be able to talk to the Romans, and it's kind of like throughout all his epistles, Paul was always building friendship and is building relationship. To Paul, talking to his leaders, talking to the people that he related with, it was not just a duty, it was not just a one-off thing, You know, many times when we talk to leaders, especially when they are so far away, we might just connect like, oh, hey, how are you? You know, how are you doing? How are you doing through this pandemic? How are you doing? How's your church doing? How things are? And it just stopped at a one-off thing, and it is like a duty that I have to do. Maybe I've been assigned to do this. But for me, it is more than a one-off. It is more than a friendship. I'm building a long-term relationship. I'm doing this so that I can actually connect deep from my heart. I'm building a long-term relationship. That relationship opens the way for me to be able to find out more than just ministry. I'm interested in them as one of a person whom I care for very much, a person who I really long to talk to again the next time. So I'm building a friendship, I'm building a relationship that will last, not just a short duration. I'm looking at a long-term thing. How can I pastorally actually really care for them? Just like how Paul has been inspired to do that throughout the whole epistles. So it's a relationship, it's a deeper covenantal thing.
So you're saying there's a real authenticity, a sincerity from your heart that kind of, I guess, motivates you to do these things?
Yeah.
And from flowing from that, what else are some of the foundational things that you would do?
Well, let me see, just taking a look at my notes here. Okay, so from the relationship, actually I do a holistic care in order to build it deeper, in order to make it solid. I'm not just interested in the ministry. I'm interested in them. For example, right now with the pandemic, I'm asking Pastor Ravi, who is in India, hey, how are our leaders doing financially? How are they doing with their health-wise? How their family doing, you know? So I try to really care for more than just a work thing. I want to care for them for their lives. I'm caring for them in their family. I'm actually caring for them holistically.
Incredible. I can just see your heart that you're trying to really care for the whole person and even the family situation. Yeah. That's really powerful. I think that's incredible. So besides this friendship that you've been building, is there any other things that you really try to build into this relationship that you're fostering with all these different leaders?
Okay, so the friendship and the relationship and the holistic thing forms my beginning. So they know that I'm not just doing a formal duty to look after them. Okay, so moving on from there, I go on to the area of making my time with them really beneficial. Okay, so you know, one of the things with leaders and pastors and people who are in ministry, I understand that they want to see some fruits. They want to see the success in their ministry. They want to see that when I'm talking to my leader, when I'm talking to the person who is senior above me, like pastoral care or president or elder, I try to make it such that it will be a meaningful, helpful, fruitful, beneficial time with them. So I try to volunteer, I try to help them with contents in the discussion that will be helpful for them. Okay, what are some of the helpful contents, for example? In the passage that we just read, Romans chapter 1, Paul was saying that I want to come and visit you so that I may impart spiritual gifts to you. That's Romans chapter 1, verse 11. And then when he spoke about times with Timothy and sending Timothy, 1 Thessalonians chapter 3, he said that I want to encourage you and strengthen you in your faith. So Paul's method was to really benefit them, to impart to them, and to encourage them, to strengthen them. So that's what I try to do as well. Every conversation that I have with the pastor, I make it beneficial for them. I want to pray for them. I want to encourage them. I want to see that their ministry will advance, that they will see fruits from this time of sharing this 1 hour, 1.5 hours with me. So I'm really wanting to advance their ministry. I would advance their gifting in their life. I would advance their church. And I think this has been a key that I try to do, that if we talk to our life group leader or we are shepherding in our local church, if it is only fellowship, we can have coffee, we can have nice food around in Kuala Lumpur, in Petaling Jaya, we can do a lot of relational things, but after a while, it is just fellowship, to make it really deeper, purposeful, I want to help this leader advance. So I try to really build good contents into the time together. Yeah, that's what I try to focus on very, very deeply.
So I can see that you are very much thinking not just as a friend, but you're thinking as a leader who is trying to benefit this fellow leader. You're trying to come in and be intentional with your, not just your friendship, but you're trying to make that friendship beneficial, and it enhances them as well, like a leader that would help another leader. That's really tremendous. So you're saying that you would try to share things with them, that you would, I guess, inspire them or help them out with maybe some issues that they will face with. Is there anything else that you have found helpful in this sort of approach that you take?
Just to add on to the thought before, Wilson, I'm a father, many of us are fathers, and as we are raising our children, we always desire our children to do well in their lives, okay? It's their future, it's their success, it's something that God has built in them, and so I'm looking at developing that potential. I'm really thinking like a father, I'm thinking like a leader, I'm thinking like a shepherd. I want my sheep to advance. I want my leader to hit the mark that God has put in their life. And if God has used me in this part of the journey, I would be so happy to see them reach that potential for God. So that's the heart. That's how I'm wired, both in my children and in all the leaders that I manage to be able to spend time with. Okay, so moving further from that, again, I take another cue from Paul and all these epistles. The another key area, and so far I would think this would be the third area, is constantly bringing them in my heart and in my mind. So I call this area mindfulness. Mindfulness. Across the distance and the miles, and because I am so busy myself, and a lot of us are busy over our ministry, our local church, etc. One of the areas that might happen is called out of sight, out of mind, right? After all, they're so far away. Africa is so far away. India is so far away. South America is so extremely far away, and it's so easy for me to just focus on my own local ministry. I've got so many things in Malaysia that I can do.
Yeah, I totally understand that. I'm the kind of guy that sometimes if I don't see, I forget. So many other different agendas, tasks, things to do just crowds out my mind. And so I think it's a great point that you're making about mindfulness. And tell us more about what are the different things you do to help you maintain this mindfulness.
Okay. So I mentioned, again, as I mentioned in Paul's epistles, as I read through his epistles again, I'm so inspired by Paul. He would write to so many of the, whether it's Philippians, whether it's Colossians, whether it's Thessalonians, you will see it interspersed. You can look through it. For example, in the Philippians chapter 1, verse 7, he would say, I'm having you in my heart and in my thoughts. In Romans, he would say, I'm constantly praying for you, So mindfulness speaks about having them upon our hearts and upon our thoughts. So Paul would often say, hey, I'm having you upon my heart. And I try to do that. Like I mentioned, I'm not just interested in the ministry only. I'm interested in their holistic. How is their life? How's their family? How are they extending themselves overall, you know? So having having them upon our hearts and our thoughts. Secondly, moving from that, when we have them on our hearts and our thoughts, the next area is really praying for them. Paul is constantly, throughout his whole epistle, he's constantly praying for them. You know, Romans is praying for them. Ephesians chapter 1:16, he says, I have not stopped praying for you. Colossians 1:9, he's always observing and praying for them. 2 Thessalonians 1 verse 11. It's amazing, you know, Paul is having so vast a ministry, but yet he's constantly praying for them. So while mindfulness is having them on our thoughts and hearts and praying for them, he's also taking opportunities of sending Timothy, sending Epaphroditus, sending this person, that person, you know. So I think mindfulness speaks more than just, I'm interested in you. It speaks about the fact that, hey, you are thinking about me, even though you're so busy, even though you have so much on your plate, but yet you're thinking about me. I remembered one time, you know, that one of our key leader was having his father who was unwell, and I sent a text, I sent a message, I even communicated and tell them that, hey, I'm actually remembering what is happening with your father. And he was like, wow, you know, he was blown away kind of thing. So folks, I just want to encourage us, mindfulness is a very important area. Our people will be so touched deeply when they know that we are thinking about them. Can I add one more area about mindfulness? And that is putting schedules, dates, appointments in your diary. I'm good with this. I realized that learning over the years, if I finish talking to this particular leader, I might say, hey, okay, yeah, we'll talk again the next time round, you know. We're going to communicate again. And then time flies so fast. The weeks go by so fast. The months go by so fast. And before you realize it, it's already 2 months. It's 3 months. And, you know, the next time you want to talk to them again, you realize that, oh, wow, you know, it's been 2-3 months already. I haven't spoken to my leader. So mindfulness speaks to me that I need to commit a date. I need to commit a schedule. I need to commit a time. And I always do that. Once I finish this, I either cite the next date or I follow up within the week. We're going to talk again the next time around.
Wow. So I'm hearing it in mindfulness. You got to make sure you're thinking about them, is praying for them. You even schedule them in so that you talk to them again or contact them again. So I can see that in many ways you're really intentional, that you really want to make sure that they are at the forefront of your heart, you know, so that you can really begin to care for them and keep your connection with them. That's just incredible. And you know, I really thank God that we do have all this technology nowadays that enables us to do this in a more easier way, even though we can't actually, you know, always travel across the distance. But you know, how important is it for us to actually come to contact with them, not just by all these texts and Zooms and stuff. How important is it for us to actually meet up occasionally, face to face, according to your experience?
Yeah. Again, I've been doing this and enjoying these physical visits. You know, before this pandemic, I think ever since I became elder and ever since I became president, it's always been on my heart that the best connection is a face-to-face connection. The best connection is a heart-to-heart connection, and a good connection, I don't know whether it's one of the best, is stomach-to-stomach connection. You know, when you...
Stomach to stomach.
I just coined this up. When you sit down and have a meal together, you know, in West Africa, in Liberia, in DRC that I've been, you know, it's a very basic meal that our leaders provide for us. It's nothing fanciful like what we are able to enjoy in many of our meals, etc. But, you know, I I discovered that when you sit down face to face, heart to heart, stomach to stomach, that you're actually enjoying their food, man, it speaks a lot to them, you know. I learned this when I was in my early years in ministry in Borneo, in Sarawak, in Kuching. You know, many of the natives would really welcome you into their home, especially when it's their major festival. And you know, I would sit down and some of the food were really, really foreign to me. And they love you to taste their food. They love you to taste the rice wine, you know. And if I could see that in the body language, in their facial expression, if I kind of like shy away that I don't take this, you know, I don't like this, you know, wow, I could see from their facial language that it communicates, oh, you don't really appreciate our culture. So that's why I say stomach to stomach as well. So face to face is a tremendous time. You know, technology is great, communicating over the phone, texting, messaging is great, but do like what Paul has done. He would always say, I long to visit you. You know, I have been waiting for this opportunity. I've been waiting for the door to open. And you know, I think when we're able to sit down and just listen to their, not the facial only, not their words only, you listen to the heart. Wow, you know, we talk about ourselves as a family of churches. A family must have physical connection. A family must sit down and be able to have a meal and talk together. So I think further to technology, I really long to be able to make that physical connection. I think that speaks volumes more than what we're trying to do. Yeah.
Wow, that's just great. Yeah, I love that stomach to stomach thing. I think the problem is that stomach gets too big after a while with all these lots and lots of meals, lots of rice.
You know, Wilson, even with the years and times that I visited in Brisbane, you know, you've always brought me to stay at your home. It was not at a hotel. It was not at someone else's home. The times that we have breakfast, you know, and you cook your favorite sausages, and Lailing cooking the dinners. You know, it's that connection and that time together, you know, that builds and cement our deeper relationships.
Yeah, and I like that too. I actually prefer usually to stay in other people's houses rather than staying in some hotel, because it's that interaction, that fellowship, just watching one another's daily life that really brings that level of connection one with another. And yeah, I really miss that. I think one of the things we're missing at the moment in this pandemic is our conferences, our ability to gather from across the world. And I'm really looking forward for us to be able to do more of that.
I can share another testimony, you know, Wilson, with this. When I went to visit Pastor Ravi in Hyderabad, that time I was already president, elder, etc. You know, so we did the meetings and so on, and then to his surprise, I said, "Hey, Pastor Ravi, I'm going to stay at your house," you know, and he was like, "Huh, really? You're going to stay at my house?" And he quickly prepared the master bedroom, you know, where he and Parimala, his wife, were staying because they didn't have a special room at the time. And you know, after that, we showered. We had his, you know, he didn't have hot water connection like what you know typical developed houses would be. He had to boil the hot water, mix it into a pail, etc. You know, and after we did all that, we sat after dinner. We sat around at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and he was really surprised. You know, he said, "Wow, Pastor Simon, you know, I never realized that you chose to stay at my house. Most invited guests, when they're president, when they're in an international movement, they ask for 3-star, 4-star, 5-star hotel. They ask for all the, you know, usual comforts that are accompanying the role and the title." And he was saying, "Wow, you know, I'm really privileged and happy, you know, that you chose to stay at my house." And you know, same with his family. We got to know the 3 boys and built that family relationship with them, you know. So that was really something special for me too, you know, not just for him.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I also had the opportunity to stay at his house,
Yeah,
so that was
yeah.
great. So, well, is there anything else that you would add to this? We're gonna close soon. What is it? Can I ask you, what is it that motivates you to really care so much about all these wonderful people around us?
Besides myself being a personable person, uh, now that we understand ministry, we understand the example that is set by Jesus and set by Paul. You know, one of the area I love very much is discipleship. And you know, looking into the gospel, Jesus chose the 12, and then he brought the 12 to go around with him, stay with him, eat with him, meet the people, did the ministry, demonstrated the kingdom values, you know, and the kingdom power to the people. So me therefore trying to learn from all these principles and examples, I try to use that as a means of advancing God's people in God's ministry. And honestly, I found that over 20, 30 years, this has been a very powerful thing which I never did before I joined Hope International family. I was a pulpit person. I related when I needed to, when I could, and when I wanted to. But being in Hope family is something special because we talked about discipleship. We talked about getting into a covenantal relationship. And I found, therefore, that some of the things that I've shared really opens the door into people's lives. And it, like I said, it advances God's people, God's leaders into God's ministry in a very much more fruitful way.
Wonderful. Yeah, it's just great to hear your heart. You know, I remember Jesus near the end of his ministry on earth, he said to his disciples, I no longer call you servants, but I call you friends. I think it's just so wonderful when so many of the people we start working with, eventually they become our friends. And I think that's just one of the wonderful things. So, Pastor Simon, thank you so much for sharing all of this with us. It's just been so helpful, and I pray that it will be inspiring to so many of our listeners.
Amen.
So thank you once again for joining us. Really
Thanks,
appreciate
Wilson,
you,
for
Pastor
having
Simon.
me. God bless you.
God bless.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.